In northern Egypt, just outside Cairo, a legendary site reveals itself on the western bank of the Nile, the Giza Plateau. Here, the famous tombs of the pharaohs stretch to the sky, still standing after more than 4,500 years. This place is teeming with stories and legends.
The Giza Plateau is dominated by the pyramids, but not less remarkable is the Great Sphinx of Giza, which is on the eastern side, facing out as you approach the pyramids, and it acts as the guardian of the necropolis.
Amid these marvels of human history, the Sphinx stands out in all its splendor. A mythical creature with a human head and the body of a lion.
Here the Egyptians cut off out of a mountain the biggest statue of Egypt, 73 meters long, 21 meters high. So here we are with a huge monument which stayed forever.
What makes the Sphinx of Giza unique is that it was carved directly out of the rocky plateau in a single block, an incredible feat for the time. Standing more than 20 meters tall and 73 meters long, it's the largest monolithic statue in the history of humankind.
Here we see the mountain cut off, with the stones removed to make space to cut the Sphinx inside. And the mountain, it was clear, was much bigger. It was a kind of hill, maybe something similar to what we see behind. So they searched for the best quality of the mountain, which is the head of the Sphinx. It is really the best. Then they discovered that the lower layers were a little bit more softer. But anyhow, they succeeded to cut off one of the most impressive monuments in Egypt.
According to experts, it would have taken around 1 million hours to sculpt something like this out of the rock, using burins, bronze chisels, and wooden mallets. Today, the Sphinx sits in all its majesty, surrounded by the very rock that made it, captivating visitors from all over the globe. For historians and archaeologists, it's one of the most studied sculptures of the ancient world. And yet, after centuries of analysis, Giza's mythical guardian still refuses to give up its secrets. For all its fame, we still know very little about it. There are no clues or inscriptions to hint at its origins. Who is it? When was it built? And why? And the greatest question of all, who was responsible for its construction?
We're speaking about the identity of the Sphinx, who it represents, who built it, because we just don't have a document. We don't have a stele or another stone or temple saying, I built the Sphinx in this year, that year, it represents this and that. We just don't have it today. But until there, we can just have to establish who is the Sphinx according to our knowledge and compare.
Archaeologists are constantly refining their research and their theories with one goal in mind: to reveal the identity of the builders of the Sphinx. To do this, they will have to wind back the clock and search for clues that may be scattered throughout history. A quest that begins at the dawn of the Industrial Age. In the early 19th century, this monumental statue watching over the pyramids looked nothing like the one we know today. Back then, 200 years ago, the Sphinx was almost entirely covered in sand. Anyone who came across it saw nothing but a head rising from the desert.
In modern times, during the 18th and the 19th century, The Sphinx was just known with his head. So people didn't know what it was. It was the head of a man, maybe a pharaoh. People maybe didn't know so much. So they were just seeing a head cut out of a mountain. Most of the people could maybe imagine a colossus, a standing or sitting colossus that you can see elsewhere in Egypt, of huge size.
This mysterious giant head eventually began to raise too many questions. In 1816, Giovanni Battista Caviglia, one of the pioneers of Egyptian archaeology, began to excavate the Giza Plateau. His objective? To find out what this legendary figure was, hiding beneath the sand. It was the first obstacle in the quest to find the origin of the Sphinx, and a colossal undertaking. To uncover the statue, thousands of tons of sand were carried away by hand. It uncovered an area of around 1,500 square meters, and its height was as yet unknown. It took a year before Caviglia and his team were able to clear the front section in its entirety.
In 1817, Caviglia cleaned in front of the Sphinx, and then they discovered that it has an animal's paws of a lion.
For the first time in centuries, if not millennia, a part of the statue's enigmatic body was finally revealed. But shortly afterwards, perhaps even the following year, the Sphinx was once again covered by sandstorms. Scores of archaeologists took up the task so that this incredible discovery could continue. With every attempt, it was only partly revealed, only to be buried once more, as if the guardian of Giza wanted its secrets to stay hidden.
There was a lot of clearing away of the head and the shoulders of the Sphinx because they wanted to make measurements and better understand this extraordinary statue. And again, more sand came a multitude of times, and people have then cleared it away again and again.
On January the 7th, 1926, a century after the first attempt, an extraordinary clearing operation led by Egyptologist Emile Barrès was finally able to fully unveil the mysterious statue of Giza.
It came out after maybe 1,000 years or something, maybe 2,000 years. It came out as it was, with the whole body. I think it was an amazing image that time to discover such a huge statue on Earth. And then started immediately, because people understand that this is something unique, unusual. People started immediately to think who it was.
The first crucial stage was now complete. Freed from the sand's clutches, the Sphinx could now begin to tell its story. Emile Barrès and his team went over the vast statue with a fine-tooth comb in the hope of understanding more about it. The first thing they noticed was that the Sphinx had been restored several times over the years. Some parts, like the front feet, had been retouched and reinforced with stone bricks at the time of the Roman Empire in the 2nd century BC. Other modifications dated back further still. This creature, only now emerging from the earth, had apparently been long revered and maintained throughout the ages. But another discovery would allow the scientists of the time to travel back even further and more precisely through the years. That new discovery was the Dream Stele, a massive block of pink granite carefully positioned between the two giant paws, standing over 3.5 meters tall and 2 meters wide. On it, the archaeologists discovered a vital message. For the first time in history, it mentioned the Great Sphinx, a vital relic for anyone hoping to discover the origins of the mysterious statue.
This stele, cut out of a granite stone, was carved by a king called Thutmose IV. And he's representing himself making offerings to the god Horus of the horizon, to the Sphinx. He's considering the Sphinx as a god. And he's explaining the story.
The king was hunting in the Valley of the Gazelles, it's about southeast of the Sphinx. And he was hunting and hunting and hunting, and then he was really tired, and he came to rest in the shadow of the Sphinx's head and fell asleep. And there he had a dream in which the Sphinx came to him and said, "If you clear the sand away from me, you will become king of Egypt." Because at that point, he was not the heir, he was just a junior prince. So, according to the Dream Stele, Thutmose cleaned away everything around the Sphinx, he did some restoration, and then he became king because his older brother died. And then he erected the Dream Stele, telling the story of how he had been the chosen one.
It is really a propaganda, because he's saying, I was placed here by the god Sphinx. He's a kingmaker. Most probably had difficulties to succeed. You know, succession of a pharaoh is not always easy. So Thutmose is saying that it was because of the god Sphinx he became a king. And the central line is saying exactly this.
If this story is true, the idea of digging the Sphinx out of the sand had already been raised many years before. In fact, we know that Thutmose IV reigned over Egypt at the start of the 14th century BC during the Golden Age of the 18th dynasty, a period when the Kingdom of Egypt was reunited, dominated the region, and when the stakes of holding power were very high indeed.
We found something politics on that stele, the story. We found that he killed his elder brother. He was supposed to be the king of Egypt. This is why he wrote this story, to show that the God, it chose him to be the king of Egypt. Then everyone will forget the crime that he did.
While the Dream Stele tells us about the political events taking place around 1400 BC, it also proves that the statue already existed at that time, almost 3,500 years ago. All Thutmose IV did was make use of an earlier religion to justify his place on the throne. Our search for the original builders of the Sphinx will therefore take us back even further into the past. It's time for us to leap back another 1,000 years.